Let your mind go and your body will follow.
There's a lot
Sounds
on your
good.
side talking about your transition. I think that's the word that you even specifically use, transition. How did you open your mind to this?
Where it really started was, well, first I was raised in London, England. I moved to California when I was 12, and I was raised in a Hindu family, right? So I followed pretty much all the, I'm Indian. I followed all the rites and rituals. I really didn't have any firm belief in anything. I just did what I was told. And then when I turned 18 and I went to college, I started doing some research and on ancient history and ancient civilizations. I was also writing a lot of poetry at that time. And you could kind of say it was like sci-fi almost, because it was about black holes, planets, extraterrestrials, just like some really fun, super esoteric poetry. And I also started researching words that I was utilizing, like ancient scriptures and black holes, like things like that. And as I started doing that, I found the Sumerian tablets of creation, which are one of the oldest, scriptures in the world, in which they talk about these beings that come from another planet. And also there's all these references to some advanced form of quantum physics, some awareness of the quantum world, as well as a 2-scale map of our solar system with all the planets in the right position. So that was kind of my entry that sparked my curiosity. One of the stories that I came across was the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is the same story as the Noah story, but it's even further back, right? Thousands of years before, that story was even written. And when I started researching the Epic of Gilgamesh, I realized that this story was taken from almost every religion and civilization in the world and manipulated in a way to be catered to their own people. That made me realize that there is a source code, a source piece of information that all these religions pulled from. So why is it that we concentrate so much on what separates us, when just by just a little bit of research, we can find out that there's so much more that unifies us, and we're sharing a lot of the same stories. So that was in 2001, 2002. I was like 19, 20, and it kicked me down a rabbit hole. I just went into ancient scripture after ancient scriptures, the Mahabharata, the Egyptian scriptures, Mayan civilization. And as I was doing that, I was being introduced to this whole ancient alien concept that also took me down a parallel of UFOs and what's going on now with disclosure. That was kind of my introduction to it all.
It sounds like you had to hold on to your upbringing until you were 18. How did your parents react to
what I became?
Yeah.
So at first, they didn't know when I was 18, right? Because I was just in college learning all this stuff. But when I started doing it professionally in like 2006, 2008, that's when it became more like, what is all this stuff? You can't do this as a job. Then a little bit later, when my dad started realizing a lot had to do with aliens, like I remember my dad said once, "What's with all this alien stuff?" And that was like 2012. So they were okay with a lot of it because they had to do with meditation, spirituality. But when they started realizing that it was about UFOs and aliens as well, they really didn't know how to kind of quantify that, and even tried to make me like realize that I can't actually do this as a full-time job, until about 2016, when I started actually becoming self-sustained from this.
Right.
Then they got off my back and realized like, whoa, Neil's created something really great here.
That's funny that you were all concerned on like a religious level, and then in the end they're just all like, you can't pay the rent with this thing. That's what the concern ended up being.
Exactly.
I'll have a decaf coffee.
I'll have a decaf espresso.
I'll have a double decaf cappuccino. Do you have any decaffeinated coffee ice cream?
I'll have a half double decaffeinated half cap with a twist of lemon.
I'll have a twist of lemon.
I'll have a twist of lemon.
Yeah, I'll have a twist of lemon.
I'll have a twist of lemon.
I'll have a twist of lemon.